Good evening, friends and neighbors. Happy Labor Day to you. Hope that you guys had a great holiday weekend. It's been a long one, and a lot of expectations come along with the Chiefs being ready to play this particular week. Just a couple of days away. We're getting really, really close. I'm a little wore out. There's a lot of fire activity out here in Colorado, so I've been doing some fire mitigation, been doing a lot. But so wanted to say this: cheers to you, Chiefs Kingdom. Glad you guys are here. See a lot of people in here already, so it's nice to see your faces. Um, if you want to support the channel, please do. There's a super chat already. I appreciate that. The super chats help us do things around here, add some activities, and we do have some great stuff coming for you. We're going to have a tailgate video this week. This year, every week is the point. Some contributors that are coming on. You guys have heard more from Dan. We're going to have some more as well, so I'm really excited about that. Hold on for the memberships. Had a little hiccup in the graphics, but we're getting there. And hopefully we'll start that next week, as well as some of the new merch that's coming. I think you guys are really going to dig. Great one that I'm just waiting to get the trademark solidified on. So that said, if you're new, sub, like, bell notification, all of them, or is it like sub? I don't know, whatever order it goes in. I hope that you guys do. Aaron should be in here later. We'll have some more stuff coming. Part of the memberships will be, once we get those launched, we're going to do a after hours type show that hopefully Aaron will be able to contribute as well, where Dan and I will be a little bit more frank, a little less formal, and will be, an adult conversation rather than family friendly like we are here on the channel the majority of the time. So that's one of the perks for the members that will be coming. So that said, if you're one of the people that want to support the channel, the memberships will be great. And that super chat that's already in there, thank you very much. If you do want to throw a super chat in there, please do. But make sure you ask a question too, and I'll get you something for it right here tonight. We'll see how many folks join tonight, and that'll determine really how far we get. Might be a little bit shorter here so we can all enjoy the last evening of our holiday. So with that said, we're going to start with Ryan Strange. How are you, Ryan? Based on what Spags has said in his Zoom call, do you think that the Chiefs might have a couple hidden gems in Wharton and Dana? Certainly in Dana. He's a guy that they were pretty high on to begin with. And I think not only from what Spags said, but also what Brett Veach said in that it really wasn't that close between Breland Speaks going and Mike Dana staying. So I think that gives you a positive, way to kind of level those out and see what the Chiefs are actually getting there. Deshaun Wharton, I think, also is in that similar situation. We saw today that on Labor Day itself at their practice that Derek Nottie was a limited participant. So, yes, everybody was at practice, but Derek and Travis Kelce were both limited. So that tells you even more so that with Pennell out and with Derek, even if Derek plays, at this point, only a few days away, he may not be able to play. Maybe he plays a third of the snaps or half the snaps. Deshaun Wharton's going to play. That is certainly clear to me, especially when you think about how sloppy this game is likely to be and the fact that they haven't had any preseason. I do expect there to be kind of that when I expect the Chiefs to go up. If and when they do, I expect them to be able to play some of the guys that they, expect big things from, but haven't seen because there's been no preseason games. So I do expect both those guys to play against the Texans, probably late in the fourth quarter. Hopefully the game is decided at that point, and that should be, an easy thing to do and not something that if the Texans are able to hang in, that kind of throws away that plan. You can't really put those guys out there. You want to have your best players in there and secure that first win in the season. Let's see. And yeah, I see a lot of you guys asking about Kelce. Kelce was limited with a knee, not anything, just precautionary. I think if it was an injury, he would have to go on the report. We would know that. So I think it's just like Andy said here, just a little bit of soreness, being precautious with it. And I think that's good. Let's see. And yes, and he did. And I haven't even seen the whole Spags thing. I saw a clip of it, but I will definitely have more for you guys later on that week. This is a compressed week, so we're going to have our normal schedule. Dan and I are going to have a chat. We'll have that for you as kind of a preview. I'll have my game plan video like I always do. And I'll tell you what they ought to be doing against who and what the matchups are that I really like. So look for that to be, let's see, that'll be the Tuesday night video and the Wednesday night video. And then I have to do the podcast right after the game. We want to get that out as soon as possible because it takes a while to get it from our host to iTunes and all that stuff. So make sure you're subscribed over at Locked On Chiefs. You can do it at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that. That will be the immediate reaction. Then I will come on, or Dan will come on, and we'll have a reaction video for you as well. So stay tuned for that. Let's see, folks, if you're new, make sure you put some question marks at the beginning of your question because it helps me find them. That's always a challenge in this chat for me. Let's see, injured enough that he won't play? No, there's no indication of that, and we should know more tomorrow. And that's in reference to Travis Kelce. So let's see, who's got the next question? Ian? Oh, no, that's not a question. Great. Okay, I'm with you, and I like the way you're thinking. I think it depends on, okay. Here's Spicy with a question. Did it shock you seeing Speaks released? No, I had Speaks being released in my preview show, my pre-prediction of the 53-man. I thought that they would try to bring him back to the practice squad, but that didn't happen. And I haven't seen him be picked up anywhere else either. So that clearly tells me that not only did they not feel that he could make the 53 versus the other guys that they have, but they really seem to have washed their hands with trying to develop him as well. It's a tough thing. I thought it was really telling that Brett Veach in his conference call said specifically that Breeland showed up out of shape. That weight that we saw in him in camp last year was not by design, that they hadn't asked him to bulk up. Like I had thought maybe they wanted him to play inside more and they asked him to get a little bit heavier, and he just did it in a bad way rather than, bulking up muscle wise. Turns out he didn't get very prepared, and I think that probably led to at least a contribution to his injury to begin with. So I thought that was telling. Let's see. Jerry's here. How are you? Hot and spicy. Sidney Jones to KC. It's not going to happen this week. Brett Veach was very kind of cagey about saying if we do something, we can't do it this week. We just don't have the time. And that's very true. So I think it's a possibility. I like Sidney Jones's upside. Obviously, there's an injury situation there that's been there for a while. But I did like him coming out in terms of his play in college, another Washington Husky DB that we know have been successful in the league. So there's that background. It's about coaching him up. But I would like to see them at least give him a workout. Not sure how that works right now. We know about if you sign a guy, it's a couple of days before they can join the team. Not sure about the workout situation. Maybe they can do a video. I don't know, but I think it's a long shot at this point. I think they're really happy with the practice squad they have because it's all players that they had in camp, and I think they feel comfortable with that. But Spicy, I wouldn't mind it. I think he's a player that's still worth exploring to see if he can reach his upside, or if the injuries have caught up with him. James Raymond, how are you? I think this is your first question that I've answered, so welcome. When is Thunder Dan coming back? Because he was funny. Thunder Dan's going to do the tailgate show. I'm not sure if it's going to hit this week, but definitely next week. Most weeks, Dan's going to do the rally show, we're going to call it, something like that. We might call it Kingdom Corner, something like that. So it'll probably come out Saturday night. So you can see you Saturday night if you're out and about, but definitely Sunday mornings. It'll be up for everybody to get kind of riled up, whether you're in at the stadium tailgating or you're at home. But Dan's going to cover all the hype, and I think it's going to be really great. So he will be back, James. Thanks for asking that one. Let's see. How did Yasir Durant make the roster? And that's a very good question too, James. I actually had him coming onto the practice squad because I thought Sanat had a little bit more upside in terms of being able to be stable at the position. But they clearly didn't feel the same. And so he must have shown them something. And obviously we didn't see any of practice, so we don't know. But he must have shown them something, because I thought Sanat was a pretty solid guy that they felt they could still get something out of in terms of increasing his development. So I take that away as a big positive sign, to tell you the truth. So you can feel good about Durant beating Sanat out, to tell you the truth. Quentin Weathers, how are you? Do you think fantasy experts are overestimating CH's worth as a starter back? I think he'll share with Daryl and DeAndre. He won't share with DeAndre at all. DeAndre's on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to come up. It'll be he and Daryl. And I do think that there will be a share. I won't even make sure, Darrell could get some starts, guys, like especially if they know they want to get off to a hot start, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot early. I expect Darrell to be the guy when they know they need to throw deeper and they want to protect Mahomes. I expect him, even as good as Clyde has been proclaimed to be in pass block, they know what they have in Darrell Williams, so I expect him to be kind of in there in those downs. But yeah, I think it's going to be a two-headed monster. Muhammad, what do you think, I'm guessing, Travarius Ward's ceiling is? Right now, because I haven't seen him at all in the preseason, I'm going to leave it where it was yesterday as a high-end 2. But if he made the same kind of progression that he made last offseason, that's pushing towards being a quality starting cornerback. And, there's 64 of them in the league, so that should tell you. Numerically, like for Pro Football Focus, he's already above that. So it's more about catching up and being consistent for me, because there are plays that he blows. And if he can take out those big minuses, I think that makes him a solid number 1 corner. I don't think he's ever going to be super elite, but I think he can be, a top 30 corner. Let's see. Do you think there's much pressure on Clyde? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of excitement about Clyde. But having Darrell and having the faith in Darrell that the team has, Andy Reid in particular, I think that kind of takes the pressure off, and the Clyde can just be Clyde. And that's going to be real good. It just might take a little while to ramp up. So what I will caution you on, see if I can get this straightened out, is don't be worried if it doesn't explode week 1, week 2. I think Clyde's going to go on a kind of incremental improvement. It doesn't have to be week 1. They don't need it week 1. They have Darrell. So I'm pretty confident in that. Muhammad, who do you see the wide receiver looking like next year? You never know. Sammy says he's not worried about money anymore. And if that's the truth, Sammy could come back again. It'll be again at another reduced salary, but right now that they still have a ways to go on getting under the salary cap. If it's going to be 175, which is all indications are that it will be 175. It could be the end of the road for Sammy. I thought that was going to be this year. I honestly was I was probably less than 50-50 that Sammy would take the pay cut that he did to come back this season. So I won't put it past him to do it again. But I do think I expect a big year out of Mecole Hardman getting more production. If that happens, it would definitely have to be a reduced contract for Sammy, and he would probably have to be comfortable with a reduced role, because I think at that point, if you get Mecole to a point where he's a 900,000 yard receiver and has, what do you have, 6 touchdowns last year? If he goes 8 to 10 to 12, I think that demands playing time and target share. And I think that's where you get yourself in trouble, where Sammy would have to be happy being the 3rd target. And maybe that's the way that it works. I won't put anything past Groovy Sammy, and that's what I like to call him these days. Kendall, how are you? Who can you see being released mid-season? They don't necessarily have to release anyone, because I think they can send them down to the practice squad without exposing them to waivers. But when Mike Pennell comes back, I expect Deshaun Wharton to be sent down to the practice squad, unless he just blows up these first couple of games. I think he's insurance for Pennell, and Pennell's return will bring that. But it's also the idea being is that you have this rotation so that if you have other players hurt, if Chris Jones has to miss a game again, or if Derek Notty's ankle suffers a relapse or a re-injury, you could see him come back up. So that's kind of what I expect. Same could be said for Bo Peep Keys. With Bashawn Breeland coming back, should be week 5. I could see that being the similar situation. Muhammad, there's 2 possibles, and this is a great question. This is one of the ones that got me. I got 49 out of the 53 correct. So I saw it pretty similar to the way the Chiefs did, but this was one that caught me. I expected Yelder to go to the practice squad. And there's 2 things. There's 2 schools of thought there. Either Travis was having some soreness, and you're not sure about Ricky Seals-Jones because he's still coming back from an injury as well. And so you wanted to be able to have 3 if one of those guys can't go. They're pretty satisfied with Nick Kaiser by all accounts. So that gives you, keeping 4 gives you that option to still have 3 on the game day roster. The other school of thought is that they just didn't feel that he's ready yet because he missed all of camp because of the injury. That even though he's not ready yet, that they feel like if they let him loose, they wouldn't be able to get him back on their practice squad, that somebody would sign him to their roster. So that was probably the concern. I kind of tend towards that. But right now it's all hearsay. I don't have any information on that. Earl Thomas, a non-guaranteed contract. No, I'm not doing it. I'm really happy with the safety group that they have. So I think they're just fine. The fact that they cut a guy who was claimed out of like the least amount of claims on cut down day ever that I've seen anyway, that tells you that they're happy with their performance and that they're getting the performance they need out of their safety group. So I would not rock the boat, and Earl is definitely a boat rocker. So I'm done. I want nothing to do with Earl Thomas in Kansas City. Let's see who's next. Spicy. Were you surprised to hear all the things about Mike Dana? No, I really wasn't. I knew most of how well they liked him going in. Aaron, it looks like I lost one of the super chats because I'm super slow. I have two of them. I'm going to try to get those right now, and I'll speed up in general, you guys. Sorry. What's your number one fear heading into Thursday's game, or about all the experienced cores being thrown into a starter position? I mean, yeah, that's probably the weak point because you have Randall Cobb, who's a 10-year vet, and that just stuck out to me today. You have Kenny Stills, you have Fuller, who have deep speed, and Snead has good deep speed, and Hamilton does, but you're talking about Fenton being out there, and Ward's pretty solid, but he can be beat deep too. So there's a lot of speed on the field there. And there's a lot of experience. And I think that's the biggest thing is Ward being the most experienced guy here. Fenton only in his second year. Antonio Hamilton's played like 40 defensive snaps in the last 4 years. So for all intents and purposes, he's pretty raw too. And then you have Snead. So I think that is a worry. But I will tell you this. I'm really interested to see how the offensive line comes together. Protecting Pat is the number one thing. And if there's a fear that I have is that they're unable to do that and they get pressure that gets Pat hurt. Let's hope that they have their act together. I'm fairly optimistic about it. And I'm really interested to see if they stay with the whole lineup or when they rotate guys in there and if it's with Pat. I think Chad Henne could get some snaps on Thursday night if the Chiefs get out to a big lead. Let's see. What team do you think is up next? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Spicy, so come back to me. I'm getting caught up here, you guys. Zane, nice to see you. Haven't answered your question, I don't think, so welcome. How would Mahomes have developed if he was a starter his rookie year instead of sitting out week 16? I think it would have been a lot more interceptions. I think it would have been a lot more not being able to do as much because learning on the job is tough, especially in the NFL. I think the study portion that he learned how to do from Alex Smith would not have been there. And I think so without that preparation, I don't think Pat Mahomes in that season would be what he is or was in his second season or is now. Tyler T, thank you for your super chat. Wanted to make sure I got to that. Can't wait for Thursday. I appreciate it. Come back with a question too, Tyler. I want to get you something for that super chat. Thank you very much. Let's see. What's up, guys? A lot of hellos. Glad you're all in here. King Boss. Kelsey was listed as limited in the injury report. Or should we be concerned? I don't think so yet. If it gets worse or it's again tomorrow, we'll rethink. For some reason, Spicy has to be approved every time he says something. Oh. That's weird. I'll have to figure that out. I'm not sure why that is. I don't have anything on that, and I'm in the streaming software right now, so I don't have access to it on YouTube, but I will check on that. Thanks for keeping an eye on him, Aaron, and just let him. I'm sorry you have to do it, but I appreciate you letting him get his stuff in. Great questions there. Justin, I appreciate you saying that. Dan's really working on it, and he loves doing this. I hope everybody enjoys his stuff as much as he enjoys making them. So he's become a great contributor around here. Definitely somebody that can sink into film as much as I can, and so that really helps to have two of us. And Danilo's going to bring a lot to the channel too, a lot more. I'm not a super fan. Danilo is, so it's going to be great. Thank you for saying that. And these at the beginning. Yes, absolutely, Jerry. Thank you. Let's see. Why didn't Veach sign Breland Speaks to the practice squad? That's really, he didn't go into it, but it really says that they're just done. They don't think that he can progress. He did give him a compliment of coming back in shape and at a good weight this season. But it just wasn't enough. And that's really what it comes down to. If despite being in shape now, whether it's rehab that didn't really leave him that much or something like that, you just never know. Kyle, I don't expect Sanu to the Chiefs. This is arguably the best wide receiver core in football, and I don't think that you can really gain much by adding Sanu. He's more of a possession guy, especially at this point. I don't want to take Sammy or Hardman off the field at all for a guy like Sanu. What does Mahomes need to improve on this year? Pre-snap reads. He needs to be able to decipher what the defense is doing by tendency, not just by alignment. And that comes with seasoning, being able to see how a guy's standing, about whether he may be dropping into a deep coverage. Safeties in particular. Can he do that? Where's the blitz coming from? That's all. It's all pre-snap stuff that Pat can continue to improve on, and I think he will. Curtis, how are you? How are you? Andy, how much do you anticipate Willie Gay Thursday night? I'm going to say somewhere around 30-40% of the snaps. I don't think it's going to be all out. I would love it if he played the whole game because I think that means that he's gotten to the point that they're comfortable, and that would mean that they're ready for him to step in. I would love to see that, but I'm not going to rush that. I'm going to think that Neiman plays over half and Willie plays under half is what I'm thinking. Is I good now? Okay, hopefully that is true with Spicy. I don't know. I'm going to keep catching up. It's the biggest surprise. What's the biggest surprise on the roster moves? I thought Washington would make it. He was the biggest. He wasn't the biggest surprise. Durant over Sanat, I think, was a pretty good surprise as well. I don't think Spicy will keep showing up until Ryan sees. Spicy will keep showing up. I will keep trying. Let me go back right now and say he's not blocked and he's not in timeout. Those are the two things that I can do from the software. So I'm not sure. You have to look at your global settings. Maybe I'm not sure. Spicy. Chiefs in real life. Thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciated. What's the stat line predictions for defense, Mahomes, and CEH? I'm going to say CEH is about 12 touches for 65 yards. I think Mahomes is probably, I'll go 310 and 2 touchdowns. And then for the defense, I think they're going to get after it. I'm going to give them a pick and 3 sacks. And I think the Chiefs are I'll formulate my final prediction. I'll have that for you guys later in the week. Without D-Hop, how much of a threat are the Texans really? I think there's one or two things. They might get loose over the top because they do have speed, and it's going to be the change of direction stuff underneath against the young corners. I think that's going to be the big challenge. Not worried about Lonnie Johnson's against Travis. I think they should be pretty worried about that. Other than that, if they choose to attack with David Johnson running the ball right down their throats, maybe, but I'm not huge on Johnson. How uncomfortable are you with the young CBs matched up against these 4? Yeah, like I said, it's a challenge, but I think there's ways to cover that up, and I think Spags will have a very specific game plan about how to protect them with safeties over the top. I don't expect a whole lot of single high this game, you guys. I think you want to limit Juan Thornhill's range responsibilities, and I think you want to give support to both sides of the cornerback group by having Tyron or possibly one of the other safeties play a little bit deep as well. It could be that Juan isn't going to get a full slate of snaps either, so that might become Dan Sorensen, might become Tedder Thompson. We could see quite a group back there. Oh, Sidney signed in Jacksonville. Thanks for that, Andy. I hadn't seen that. I've been outside all day. Can you or Dan put something with our QB strength and weaknesses of all 3? Yeah, we're really focused on the Texans right now, getting ready, but we can maybe circle back to that after the game as we kind of get ready for the next game. I did have a super chat question on top. I might have gotten Nancy. Oh, sorry. No worries, man. We will get back to it, Ian. You are always a great supporter. I appreciate it. Julian, how much competition do you think the Texans offense is going to be for the Chiefs defense? I think there's going to be some big plays. I think the Chiefs are going to be in pretty good shape, down after down, but I think they are going to get loose a few times. So I think that's important. Nathan, is Thornhill 100%? I think he's going to start. I can't say that he's 100%. That's a little bit of a stretch from where I'm at. Let's see. Thoughts on the 4 players that will be protected past Matt Moore. I'm honestly not sure. Lipscomb Fortson probably, and maybe Hill. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too concerning. They didn't keep that many veterans. I mean Moore's clearly the focus, and Ta'amu. So I like that they kept them both, by the way. Okay, got that one. Will we see DOD shadow Deshaun Watson? I think so. I think that's going to be part of the game plan. I thought he did a very good job in that responsibility the last time that they played. So I think that's a big part of why he's here. Not only does he play special teams, but this is one of those matchups where he can be really, really useful, especially if the Chiefs can get out to a lead. So I do think we see a good bit of Dorian out there as well. And maybe that's Dorian and Willie. I would like to see that too. If they're up a couple of scores, I'd love to see those two on the field together. Who's next? Jerry, what's up with Kaiser and Yelder? I know Seals made it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's because Yelder's been hurt and maybe he's not ready. And again, maybe they just didn't want to get him signed by another team by putting him out there. They had to clear waivers the first day, so they didn't want to take that chance. They kept him around. I think that's a good sign. Likelihood of losing both EB and Spags if they win another Super Bowl. I don't get the feeling that Spags would necessarily jump back into a head coaching role. I think there's a cool part about having known what that job is, for Spags to just be happy to ride it out as a coordinator and let Andy be Andy. You never know. I don't know Spags. I've never interviewed him. I have never spoken to him. I haven't talked to Eric Bieniemy since he was, a player. So, I doubt that it's going to be both, but I do expect this is Bieniemy's last year at the team. I think he will be a head coach somewhere else next year. Daniel, over under Clyde getting 100 rushing yards this week. I'm going to take the under. Are you surprised by the CBs we kept? No, it's exactly what I had thought that they would do. And even down to the practice squad, they pretty much nailed exactly what I expected in my preview show. Do you think Dorian will get more snaps as a spy? Yep, absolutely. Will Jones? Oh wait, did I not finish that question? Or does Gay's coverage ability negate that? I think they coexist, honestly, because what we saw last year was a 3-man rush with Dorian spying and then 7 in the back. So I think you can do that again in Willie's in coverage, or you might be able to mix them up because they've talked a lot about blitzing Willie. And if you feel like you can get some snaps with Dorian covering Johnson, I think Dorian can do that. I think it's gonna be really interesting. Like I said, if they get out to a couple scores, I would love to see those guys on the field together. How many reps do you see Bo Keys getting in the first couple of weeks? Not many. They have to be up a little bit, and then maybe they'll give him some run. But he's still playing pretty far behind. He's kind of the emergency guy right now in my mind. Levi's not a question. Sorry about that. What do you think about Darwin Thompson's role will be? He will be a break glass guy. It will be Clyde and Darrell all night long. Darwin will only be if they're up a lot and they want to rest those guys or if somebody gets hurt. Ian, think we'll sign an vet RB. Only 3 RB seems thin, and that's fair. I thought they would keep 4. Last time they only had 3 was before Westbrook. Yeah, you're right. But they did get Washington back to the practice squad. So I don't think they're going to sign another veteran. I think if they have any kind of health problems, they'll bring Washington right up. That's my thought. If they were really concerned about it, they probably would have kept McGuire, but I don't think that's going to come into it. Should we be scared of the Texans' run game? Is there anyone besides David Johnson to worry about? I mean, Duke Johnson's a good pass catcher, but I don't think he's going to hurt you between the tackles. So no, I don't think so. And I think the safeties, Willie Gay, Anthony Hitchens, I think coverage, Duke will get a play or two is my guess. But I think they're better at coverage against the running backs this year than they were last year. Are you surprised by DeAndre cut? Yeah, I was. I thought they'd keep him. They'd cut Darwin and bring Darwin back to the practice squad. They just flipped it. I'm not too concerned about it. I think because of the rules where you can bring guys up and down from the practice squad, I think that'll happen quite a bit with the RBs. Adam, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy it. I love doing this. What do you make of only keeping 3 RBs and expanding the 410? Again, I think it's related to the injuries and what they think that they can do longer term. Do you think Tommy Townsend can live up to Colquitt's legacy? I have no idea. Never seen him kick. not in the pros. We're going to find out real quick. I got to tell you, it is going to be trippy in a bad way to see Dustin Colquitt in black and gold. More power to him. And Chris Clark, my co-host on the Locked On Chiefs show, pointed this out today. That's where his dad kicked. So, okay, there's a nice symmetry there about, playing for the team that your dad played for. Cool. I still don't dig it. And I'm not going to like seeing it. Let's see here. Julian, what do you think about Dustin Colquitt? Yeah, that's exactly it. So I'm glad we all got to that spot. Whoa. There. Oh, good Lord, I'm falling behind. Is Thornhill starting Thursday? We don't know yet, but I think he's going to get the start. I just don't know how much he'll play. Nathan, where does Warden excel at? He's better as a pass rusher from what I saw in very limited looks. There wasn't much film for me to look at from Missouri S&T, so I'm going off of a lot of guys who've talked to scouts and things. I haven't spoken to a scout who was there to see him in a game, so I don't know about that. But more of a pass rusher, but is solid against the run enough that they can get by as a guy that can play both week 1 and 2. Jerry, what about Hoyt, Braxton, Ward, and Lawrence? Let's see. I think they got Hoyt they got Braxton in the practice squad and Ward to the practice squad. I'm not sure about Lawrence. Scott, is there a chance that L'Jarius Sneed replaces Breeland as a starter before he even gets back from suspension? I do. Right now on the unofficial depth chart, they have Hamilton as the outside guy with Fenton in the nickel. I think that's actually Sneed. I don't think that's where Hamilton's going to play. If Hamilton plays defense, they're going to get themselves in trouble. And I think he can actually help as another safety, as a roamer between nickel safety. But no, I don't want him on the outside. I want Sneed out there, and I think that's good. But the job is Bashaud Breeland's when he gets back. He's got too much experience for even Sneed to beat him. And I think that's a good thing. Experience excels. Do you see more defenses playing zone against us early? Yes. And I see them playing specifically, cover 4s back there where they have a lot of deep coverage. I think that's going to be a trend. Maximo, thank you. Chase, what do you think of Daly as DC in the near future, 2 to 3 seasons? Would you let Spags go to promote? No. To stop them poaching him? I wouldn't. I think Daly will be a good coordinator. And if Spags chooses to retire, he's not the youngest guy either. I would love to see Brendan Daly and Matt House be considered for that position. But I'm not going to fire Spags because somebody wants to hire Daly. I would give Daly a bigger role, assistant defensive coordinator or something like that, whatever you have to do to give him a promotion to keep him. And then let it happen eventually when Spags is done. But Brendan Daly is going to be integral to championships, and I think the team in the future. I think his reputation goes beyond just what he's done to this point. But there is a different skill set in running an entire defense and managing a staff and players versus just managing and doing your job as a coach with your position group. Kenneth, how many touchdowns and yards do you think Patrick and Clyde will have Thursday night? I think Clyde will catch a touchdown pass from Patrick. I think it'll be one of the 2 that Patrick throws. Can you see Darwin Thompson getting any carries, or is he going to play a different role? I don't think he'll do much. He might get some carries again if they're up late. Who's next? Danny, welcome. A lot of new names in here tonight. Welcome all of you. I appreciate all the new questions. Glad to see it. If you don't know, Aaron Morrow is our super mod. Give him a chuckle or say something nice to him. He's running this show. I'm just here to answer the questions. When players like Breland and Pennell are brought back to the active roster, who do you think is sent down? I think it's going to be Wharton, and I think it's going to be Keys. They might choose to keep 6 corners and let a safety go. Maybe they can squeeze Armani Watts down on the practice squad. I don't know. Maybe they decide not to carry 9 offensive linemen at that point. I think the Breland return is a little bit more iffy. Let's see. What team is the biggest threat in the AFC? I think it's the Ravens. And man, I just have a good feeling about the Colts. But the Steelers, I think, finish second in that division. I don't think it's the Browns. What do you think the score will be Thursday night? I'm going to put it, I don't know. I don't have my whole prediction down, but it'll be high 20s, low 30s probably for one team. And I think it's probably a 7 to 10 point game. Bradley, could the Chiefs sign? No, evidently he already signed in Jacksonville, was it? I wasn't aware of that, but somebody said earlier in the chat. For all the praise in the front office, Veach in the front office gives it, whiffing on Speaks in the second round feels like it's going to bite us. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly not what you want, but I think honestly it's already bitten you. It's not like he was a contributor or he was somebody they were counting on contributing. He hasn't done much. So I think it's a speed bump that they have to get used to, and I think it's honestly something Brett Veach is going to take to heart and learn a lot from. What's up with Alec Reddy? Any news on him getting better or not? I haven't heard. I haven't heard anything specific other than that if Ryder went down, they wanted to get him some reps. That's why Darrell Williams went to the practice squad. I think they're pushing it. I don't think he's a center. I think he's a guard. But that's what I said about Cam Irving, and they played him at tackle anyway. So we will see. Do you think Kelsey will be back for Thursday? I do. I don't think there's any serious doubt there. Mahomes yards, ints. I think it's 2 touchdowns, 310, and probably 0, Gary. Final score. I'll give you guys that later in the week on one of my videos. If you're new around here, I'll have a video for you every day up until game day. So we'll have one Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Might even squeeze something special for you either here or in a live. And we'll definitely have reaction afterwards. Any thoughts on the Texans' new RB, what we should expect? I mean, they only have 3 on the roster right now, and I can't remember the younger guy's name, but it's Johnson and Duke. It's Johnson and Johnson. So they're known quantities. I'm not too nervous to tell you the truth. Do you think the Texans shifting their offense towards more speed is directly correlated to trying to mimic our squad? I mean, I think the whole league is generally trying to do that because they realize what they saw last year is that even the best defenses in the league didn't stop them. So now they're resigned to the fact that they have to score more points, and speed kills. Always has. Al Davis was right about that, you guys. Let's see. Kelsey's knee issue might become a lingering issue with off-season surgery. Concerned? I haven't heard any of that to confirm that, Michael. So no, I would not say that I'm concerned about that at all. If I find out something specific about what the injury is, I will let you guys know, and then I might be a little bit more inclined to be worried. D-Rob and Pringle are going to see the field without anyone getting hurt, God forbid. I think they probably will. Again, if they build a 2-score lead, 14 or plus points, I do think you're going to see that because those guys are all rusty too. They need to get as many guys onto the field as they can. If they can get out that far, I think you're going to see a lot of the backups. Thoughts on the 4 players that will be protecting? I really don't have them at the top of my list, Curtis. Matt Moore will be one of them. There's not a ton of veterans that they kept. DeAndre would probably be another, because the guys that I think are most likely to get taken are guys that teams feel they can take and plug in. But I'm not too worried about it at this point. Protect Dieter? No. Nobody's coming for Garrett Dieter. Why is the Chargers defense better than the other teams in limiting the Chiefs offense? It's about physical matchups. Their linebackers are pretty good athletically. They have corners that are smart. Casey Hayward's smart. Jalen Ramsey is Jalen Ramsey. I think Tyreek taught him a thing or two, but he's really good in general. So you have that. And I think it's just generally the way that they play each other. We're going to have to see what happens this time. What do you think of Byron Pringle's potential? I think he could become the number 4. I think right now it's still DeMarcus. Brett Veach said something about him. Andy said something about him. So he clearly came back in a way that they like. But I think Pringle will become that eventually. I certainly hope so. I have very high hopes for Byron Pringle. Let's see. And if you're new to the channel and you didn't catch Dan's interview where he and Byron Pringle went through film, go check that out because it was great. It's here on the channel, and I'll try to put it in the notes or the notes wherever they go. But you can just search Byron Pringle on this channel and you'll find it. Who scores first TD offense and who's first defense? Lamar, I'm not sure what you're asking. Who scores first? I don't know. Whoever gets the ball first. I think it's going to be pretty sloppy the first quarter, you guys. So be prepared. Let's see. Are we deep in the O-line position going into the season? Yeah, they have Remmers and Kilgore that'll be the first off the bench. That's pretty good to have vets with that amount of experience as your backups. So yeah, that's a really encouraging sign. Okay, I'm going to start to speed up because I'm falling farther behind. Sorry, you guys. Aaron, let me know if I do something stupid and totally miss somebody. Justin, what are the chances of going to the Super Bowl and winning it again? I'm going to put it at 60-1. It's really hard to repeat, but if anybody can do it, this team is in a really good position to do it of most that I've seen in the last few years. Who will get more snaps, Allegretti or Osemele? Osemele will be starting. He will get way more snaps than Allegretti. Let's see. Chiefs Yamaha, it's been a while. How are you? Who do you see coming up from the practice squad if one of our receivers gets hurt? I think the first guy up is going to be Jody Fortson. I think that if it hadn't been for special teams, Jody Fortson would have made the roster. What about your opinion on people giving the Chiefs an 11-5 record? I think that's wishful thinking. If they play 16 games, I think they're going to be 13-3, maybe 14-2. I think there's still a chance that they miss a game, although I'm really happy with the NFL has been able to do. Scott, how are you? Your thoughts on Taco and Mike Dana and their roles? Right now, they're listing Tano as the number one unofficial. I think that's mostly due to the Alex Okafor injury. So I think actually Taco comes in the pass rushing downs, and Tano may play more in the base as a guy that can do a little bit of both for either Frank or Alex. So that's kind of how I see him. And then Mike Dana is going to be situational. I think he's going to play, but I think it's going to be more again with a lead. And I think he will definitely be an end on the outside. I'm interested to see Mike Dana and Damone Harris be out there together too. I think that might be a nice pair. Aaron, don't you think that David Johnson is a little used up? He is always hurt. And are you worried since he's fresh? I'm not worried. No, I don't see the explosiveness out of him that you used to. And he is a little beat up, but he's a crafty runner. He's an experienced vet. So I'm not going to underestimate him too far. But no, I'm not shaking in my boots because David Johnson and Duke Johnson are their running backs. Let's see. Joe, how are you? What do we do with $7 million in cap that we have left? Sit on it. That's emergency fund. Basically, if you have a vet go down, you got to bring somebody in. I don't think they're going to do anything with that anytime soon, especially now that Sidney Jones signed. Michael, name your 3 top defenses in order, both conference and including the Chiefs in a ranking. Top 3 defenses. Ravens, Bills, Niners is my guess. Might throw Seahawks in there. I think the Seahawks might have a little bit of a resurgence. Oh, in both conferences. So Ravens, Bills, who would be third? Maybe Pittsburgh. They might be good again. And then Niners, Seahawks, Saints played pretty good last year. They made a couple of additions. We'll have to see how they come along too. Let's see. I'm hearing some analysts predicting Texans victory Thursday. They're probably Texans analysts. Do you put any stock in that? No. There's always a chance. This is the NFL, and they've had 0 practice games, so you never know. But no, on paper, so long as you play the right defense and respect their speed that they have on offense, I don't see these Texans really keeping up. Is it possible that Darrell Williams gets more carries and yards this week over CEH? Possibly, and definitely over Thompson. Then again, if they're throwing the ball all the time, they want Darrell in there to protect Pat. So maybe he doesn't get as many touches. But carries-wise, I think probably Darrell will be the primary carrier, and I think Clyde will get more touches in the pass game. is my thought. Gary, how are you, bud? Thank you for being here to watch what I do. I quit watching ESPN and Fox because of politics. Yeah. Well, I love you guys for being here. Thank you very much. Nathan, who's the one player that you're rooting for to have a good game week 1? L'Jarius Sneed. I want to see him come up and continue his progression because I saw him get better as a cornerback when he was in college, and then they needed him at safety his senior year, and I felt like that was just kind of a shift of gears. I want to see him back at corner, and I'd love to see him have a great game. J-Dub, how are you, bud? Who will be on the field more, Tedrick Thompson or Dirty Dan? Dan, definitely. At times, when we go 3 safety and sit Thornhill, who's the third guy? It's going to be Thompson. From all intents and purposes, he was the guy who stepped in and was getting all the number 1 team reps while Thornhill was out. So he's definitely your number 4. Do you expect Damian Williams back next year? Oh, sorry, I didn't click it. There we go. Yes, I do. They could trade him, and he might not be the starter. But yeah, he's under contract. So unless they decide or that he asked for a release, I think they could maybe look to trade him, or else he's going to be stuck behind Clyde. I think year 2, they're not going to want Clyde to give up any carries to Damian. Let's see. Did Sam Madison say whose starting CBs are? No, Sam didn't. He talked about them, but I did not see him give a starting lineup. Who are the biggest? Who has the biggest day on Thursday? Not named Mahomes. I'm going to say it's Hill. I think he might be in for a big one. They look to be possibly starting Eric Murray at one of the safety spots. I liked Eric when he was here. He never developed to the guy that I thought he could be. And I think Tyreek Hill knows how to attack him. So it might be a long night for Eric. Did you hear anything about who will return kicks? Right now, they're listing McCole Hardman as the primary returner for both. Whether that continues, I don't know. Texas boy, you're brave. What are your thoughts on Eric Bieniemy? Do you still think he'll be a head coach in next year or 2? Yes, I do. I think this is his last season in Kansas City. And quite frankly, if you are giving away all of your good players and you're stacking things up to get, I don't know, the Clemson quarterback or somebody you're going to reboot your franchise are, there are worse places to go than Jacksonville. You know what I mean? Like, their franchise is a mess, but if they finally figure it out and they're getting ready to jettison all their crap picks and they need a hard-nosed coach to come in there and set stuff right, Eric Bieniemy's the man. I will hate to lose Eric Bieniemy. I love watching him coach. Let's see. Scott Campbell, how are you? What's your prediction for the Tampa Bay Bucks record? I'm going to put them at 8-8. Oh, and you think they're a 500 team too? Yeah, I'm not buying the hype that they're going to win 11 or 12 games. I just don't buy it. Gronk was belabored and beat up. I think this comes down to a referendum on, was it Tom or was it Belichick? I think that's going to be interesting to see, but I like BA. Bruce Arians runs a good offense. I just don't think, honestly, that Tom Brady is that suited for it. And I don't know at the end of the day if they're going to be able to get everybody to adapt the way they did in New England to Tom Brady. So I'm going to say about 500. Yeah. Jumped a little bit. Hold on. Getting caught up, you guys. Scott, do you know how testing for COVID is going to come game day? Right now, they're testing every day. I expect that to continue. I don't know if they're going to do it game day morning or not, or if they're going to do it Friday nights while they're in the hotels and call that good, or Saturday nights while they're in the hotels and call that good for Sunday games and, whatever day they're playing. I think eventually they're going to have a saliva test, and that's supposed to be like an hour turnaround, and then there'll be game morning testing as they're getting dressed and ready for warm-ups. That's my guess. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate this. Avery, I'm sorry I missed your question before. Thank you, Mr. Morrow, for taking care of it. Which defensive rookie will stand out more Thursday night, Willie or Sneed? Which needs to? Oh, man, that's a great question. Who will? I want Sneed to stand out more because I think that's more important for the defense right now. But I think Willie probably has the ability to make a little more plays when he's in the game than Sneed will. I think Sneed's going to be under attack with some speed. I think Willie needs to as well. That needs to be an important one. Thanks, Aaron. And thank you, Avery. Cody, next year, draft a young route technician like Judy Ridley or Van Jefferson that will go into a number 1X. No. Nope. Andy lines guys up at ZX and slot, but I don't think that he wants an X type. I think he wants speed across the board. And while route running is super important, you need to be able to separate, whether it's with route running or with speed or with your change of direction abilities. So no, I don't think necessarily that means a new draft pick would go into the X spot. I think what happens, honestly, is that if they don't bring back Sammy, I think your top 2 receivers are Hardman and Hill. And Hardman can line up outside too. That's one of the things he has to get better at, beating press this year and making side adjustments, but he can do that. And then the next guy up, Pringle, just starts rotating. They move guys around enough that I don't think you have to pigeonhole somebody into the classic X role. I thought the Chiefs would keep Fortson on the 53 as a hybrid. Do you think Fortson could do Yelder's role and still be a wide receiver too? No, I don't. I think they thought that initially, but I think he came back more explosive, maybe a little bit lighter, but he's definitely not a tight end. And I think that was an interesting experiment, but I don't think that's in the cards. He's going to play out wide at wide receiver. Is this the year that we finally see a behind-the-back screen pass from Mahomes? Heck no, I hope not. They do that, I am going to have a mild heart attack right there on the spot. You think the Chiefs keep coming from behind like they did in the playoffs? I hope not. If they can get that settled down, if they can get the nerve settled for Mahomes, if they can come out with a little bit more specific game plan on defense, I think that they won't have to play from behind. Do you expect Rankin to replace someone on the active roster when he comes off the pup? I would, except I don't know when he's going to come off the pup. Linemen generally take a little bit longer to heal. He was hurt, mid to late October. I could see a thing where maybe he doesn't make it back on the active roster this year, that he doesn't complete his recovery, and then it's another year down the road. If he does, then yeah, I could see them sending somebody down. Maybe that's Durant, send him to the practice squad in favor. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. Rankin's put in time in the league. He's got experience, so it's valuable. Sam, I thought the Chiefs would cut Washington because of his salary. Did his salary cap hit go down now that he's on the practice squad? Yeah, they all do. So he walked away with his signing bonus, but now he's on the standard practice squatters are making 24 a week this year, I think, something like that. I can't remember. Birdman, sorry I missed you. Thank you again, Aaron. Do you think the Chiefs keep handing coming from? Oh yeah, no, I got it. Jerry, right now, I was still thinking they might miss 2 games, so I was calling it 12-2. If they play 16, I'm comfortable with 13-3. Kevin Cook, what is PM's record on Thursday night games? I would have to go look that up, man. I don't know that off the top of my head. That's something Danilo will bring you. He knows all those stats right in his noggin. I ain't that guy. Do you think the Texans have a bit of an advantage because of the whole new Texans wide receiver squad and no tape on that group? No, I don't. I don't think that Bill O'Brien's offense is that creative, to tell you the truth. And despite what the wide receivers' capabilities are, I think that the bigger advantage for the Chiefs in not having to show any of their offense to anyone yet. Andy said he's got new wrinkles. Pat Mahomes has come up with some new plays. I think it's a lot more of an advantage for the Chiefs than it is for the Texans. Are you going to do a podcast during the game? No, I'm not going to podcast during the game. I was talking with a station about broadcasting it and being their color guy. I can't do play-by-play. I'm not that fast, but I could do color. But that didn't materialize yet, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to watch the games. I might give you a little something at halftime maybe on Twitter. But then we'll do post-game wrap-ups and obviously all the rest of the live shows. I did a live show post-game last year after the podcast. So it all depends on timing this year. So post-game, we'll see the conferences. I'll do the Locked On Chiefs podcast. I'll have to post that, and then I'll come on and I'll do a live wrap-up video. Or maybe Dan will do it, or maybe we'll do it together. I don't know. We'll give you post-game, but not during. Because otherwise, I only have half a good take. I need to see it live as well as seeing the All-22. Michael, are the Arizona Cardinals let go of 6th-round pick Evan Wheeler Weaver, back from California, he had 181 tackles. As a senior, do you see him as a potential fit for the Chiefs? No. He wasn't athletic enough to break into the starting lineup here, and they clearly have been making a very big push to get more athletic at the linebacker level. I don't think he's a good fit here. I appreciate what the kid did in college, but I don't think he's somebody the Chiefs will be interested in. Do you think that Dave Toub is high on the coaching list as far as coaches that can move from Kansas City? That's a really good question. I think he should be. I don't necessarily think that he is. He's interviewed some, and I think he and Bieniemy will both interview again. But it seems like coordinators, special teams coordinators, are at a disadvantage lately for play callers. And I think that's probably going to linger a little bit longer. I think he will be a head coach eventually, though. In fact, if Andy sticks around and Eric Bieniemy's gone and Spags is gone and Daly's gone, Dave Toub could be your next head coach in 6 years, 8 years. Dave Toub is a monster, and he could easily coach into his 70s as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Thank you, Scott. I'm sorry it's taking me so long tonight, you guys. Have you got any ESPN offers yet? Nah. No, ESPN's been great to me, to tell you the truth. Stefani Bell in particular came on during the Alex Smith Project 11 thing. They've been really helpful in giving me some interviews, but I don't think they're interested in me as a personality. They might not like what they get. Are you surprised that Colbert being cut? I thought he could make the roster over Keys or Watts. I actually had him making the roster over Watts because, again, experience, playing multiple positions, and a guy who's done it. I don't think he was a huge special teamer, and I think that's partially why Armani made it. So, love seeing this. Thanks for pointing that out, Aaron. I didn't realize that. Very, very happy and thankful for all of you for being here, especially on a holiday weekend. What's your thoughts on Frank Clark on Thursday night game? I think Frank's going to come out ripping. I think he's eager to prove that last year was an injury issue and that he's not overpaid. I think Frank's got a big chip on his shoulder. I think that's great for this defense. I think he's going to come out slapping dudes around. I think he and Tunsil is going to be a great matchup, and I think every now and then they're going to throw him over on the other side against Howard. And I think Titus Howard's in for a long evening. What's up? Glad you made it. Scott, any news on Ricky Seals-Jones? Only that he's practicing. We still don't know the extent of the injury or what it was. So I don't know, man. I mean, I am very keen to know. Jerry, Martinez Ranka is on the pup. I think he's going to be there for a while, and we will find out when and if we see him. Sneaky plays for the sausage in week 1. I love your thought. I hope so, but I don't think so. This week, I think it's going to be about throwing the ball around. Next week, against the Chargers, I think they might want to do something. I think it's going to be crafty. And I don't think it's going to be the wheel thing that they did last year, but I think it'll be interesting. Maximo, I will go live after the game, but I got to do the podcast first and that kind of thing. So it'll be a little bit more delayed. Thursday's going to be a stretch, but I will give you my rundown. Unless Dan beats me to it. We'll figure that out. One of us will either post a video or do a live post game for you guys. Let's see. Who's the number 3 receiver? Hardman, hands down. Let's see who's next. Scott. Who do you think the game is going to be with limited amount of fans? I think it's going to be interesting. And if it were silent, I think the Chiefs would still be okay. But having their fans at all in the stadium when other teams aren't going to have any, it's a big advantage. Lucas Niang opt out. Any reason why that I know of? I do not know why. I understand it had something to do with his family. I'm not sure if it was him or his family members, but that's what I was told. I don't have any proof or any further details. What does Yelder make the roster say for Seals-Jones' health? That's, I think, part of the question. I think both of them were beat up, and I think they didn't want to lose either of them long term, so I think they're trying to keep them both. And that's the only way to do is keep them on the roster. Are you going to miss Phillip Rivers in the West? No, I don't enjoy watching him play. I think actually he will have a better year than he has in the last couple of years because I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to protect him a heck of a lot better than the Chargers were able to. So, yeah. But no, I won't miss him. Let's see. There are deserving assistants. There definitely are. And I think Eric Bieniemy is at the top of the list. What's your sack predictions for the Chiefs defense in this game? I think Maximo, I think, what did I say earlier? 3? I think that's probably true. I think Jones, Clark, and then I'll leave the mystery one to Tano Passanio. How's that? How many wins do you see the Chiefs getting? 12 or 13 is my thought. Tobe did get his Kemp. That's absolutely true. But Jody and Kalijah Lipscomb both being on the practice squad, that means there's forethought into the development of the future wide receiver ranks. Will the teams be doing COVID testing after the game to track interactions between the teams? That's a great question, Michael. And my understanding is that they're not going to do it the next morning. What they're doing is they're not going to have players come into the facility on Mondays like they normally do. Now, obviously, the Chiefs are playing Thursday, so that's a little bit different in the schedule. But teams are going to play on Sunday. They're not going to come in on Monday like they normally do for treatment and whatnot. Then they're going to test them on Tuesdays. So you get more of that lag. I don't know that that's really effective. Some people won't even test positive for up to like 5 and 6 days. So I think once this gets rolling, it's going to be a little bit more, hit or miss, to tell you the truth. But it's a great question. Thank you. Let's see. Will this be a breakout season for Chris Jones? I mean, it's hard to call it a breakout when he had like 15 sacks 2 years ago and he had like 9.5 last year. He's well respected. They gave him his contract because he would have gotten that money from someone else. So I have a hard time calling it a breakout year, but I think he will actually improve over last year. And I hope that he just can play the full slate. How many sacks do you see Frank Kliss have this year? I'm going to say, I'm just going to go with a prime number. I think they're both going to have 11. How's that? Does Gaeta get a start on Thursday? I don't think so, Nick. I think it's going to be, Neiman in the base. What kind of night will Chris Jones have? I think he'll have a sack, and hopefully he has a couple tackles for loss. I think they're going to try to run on him some, and I hope that he can make that work. Tyron's going to get his hands on a pass and not come away with no, he'll get the interception this time. But he's going to have a couple this year, guys, that he's going to drop. He's going to get pissed, and then he's going to get more. Yeah, I cannot say this enough, you guys. Thank you to Aaron for being the mod and running this show. I know, Aaron, I've been telling you I was going to call you all weekend so we can figure stuff out. I will do that. I am getting low on battery, you guys. In fact, I think my camera just went. Ooh, it's close. Not quite there, but we're going to wrap it up here real quick. Thank you, Aaron, and everyone for being here. Sam is the last. Oh, there's 2 questions. Take a positive angle on things. Do you think that Breland and Pennell being suspended is great for the young development? It absolutely is. And of all years where the other team isn't as prepared, that's a big plus. Who poses the biggest threat in the conference? I think it's the Colts and the Titans. My camera did shut down now, you guys. So we're going to go back to the other camera. This is the laptop. Doesn't look as nice. So sorry. But yeah, I'm going to wrap that up. I think it's Ravens. I think the Colts are going to be better than anybody really expects. How good do you think the Broncos are going to be? I think they're going to push the Raiders and they're going to be right behind the Chiefs. Right now, I still feel like the Raiders are probably in a better thing. I got to see the quarterbacks though. We'll see how they do the first couple weeks and then I'll give you another answer. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that, Scott. Sorensen get more playing time this year. Yeah, I think so. Especially early. If they want to rest Juan, I think they're going to play Dan. Let's see. Score prediction. I'll give that to you later in the week, Travis. Folks, if you don't follow me on Twitter, that's where some of this comes out. Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter. That's the place to be. Last question. Tony, what's the difference between Willie Gay in the first 3 rounds linebackers aside from character concerns? It was his lack of playing time because of the character things that led to him being suspended. So he didn't have that much film. That's what led to him falling. And he's definitely got the athleticism. He actually came out better than Simmons on my athletic matrix. So I think we're good. So Scott, I know you're waiting for koozies. I'm waiting to find somebody who can make them. I'm going to build a brand new store here later in the season. Got to get the new shirts out first so you guys can get them. And then I'm going to revamp the whole store. And hopefully I'll get another vendor that can make them. I do have one on hats, but I have to build a Shopify thing. We'll talk about that later. Appreciate you guys being here. Over 300 on a holiday. I love that. It's going to be a great week. Get ready for Thursday. We'll have more stuff for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.